Okay, so I'm going to be putting the timing kit on today, but I went ahead and installed the reinstalled the thrust plate off camera because of this right here. Not sure if you guys can see that, but the thrust plate I put on here somehow cracked. So it's just a disclaimer, don't over torque these bolts, just be careful with them. They're 11 foot-pounds. I also put Loctite on them. But yeah, this little piece right here, I had to go all the way out to a junkyard, pull a front cover off of a motor to get another one because this somehow cracked. So these things are very sensitive. So that's why I've gotten right to that part. And now we're just going to continue with putting the timing set on. So the first thing we got to do is put this cam key on. When you get a brand new cam, surprisingly it doesn't come with a cam key, so that's also another important thing to order along with the cam is a cam key. I got a new one. I wasn't going to risk trying to reuse an old one, and it just sits right in here, and I might not even have to do a whole lot to it. It just to make sure that that's seated right all the way in. Cam keys are weird. Okay, so the situation with this is you got two timing marks. You got a timing mark on the balance shaft gear, and you got a timing mark on the cam gear. And then in front of the cam gear is the sprocket, and that's also got its own timing mark. So the first thing you got to do is you got to get these two timing marks lined up when you put this timing gear on. And the timing mark on the balance shaft is supposed to be on the bottom, and the timing mark on the cam is supposed to be on the top. So this I gotta move over, because if you see what I got going on here, in order to get these two to fit together, this key's got to be at least down there. I'm going to try to lightly turn it, not hammer on it, so it doesn't get stuck on there. Alright, so I did a couple of things off camera after I replaced the camshaft thrust plate that had cracked on me. I put the timing kit on, I put the lifters in, and I also put the rockers on so I could measure the push rod length. I got this tool from ZZP, it's push rod length checker tool. They have a video showing how to use it. I really didn't know what I was doing, so I just decided not to record it. But I decided that since I'm putting in a new cam, I would put in new push rods. And good thing I did check things, because the push rods I had reused, those stock push rods, the stock push rod length is 7 inches. After measuring with this tool, I was able to find that I needed 695 inch push rods. So I have those. I'm going to put those in. And it makes sense because these heads, I replaced them. They're reman heads. They've had material shaved off of them, so they're a bit shorter. And there might be a possibility that the stock push rods that I did reuse might have caused some damage to the old camshaft. I don't know. But as far as I know, I have 695 push rods. I'm going to be putting those in. But apparently this this thrust plate, I still don't know what happened. It cracked on me, and apparently nobody makes these. So I had to go all the way out to a junkyard and pull a front timing cover off and get this. And I figured while I was at it, I would just grab the cover itself, because apparently this motor that this cover was on was a 140,000 mile motor, and I figured it'd be in better condition than this 300,000 mile cover. And it definitely is better. You can see all the you know, the condition of this thing. This cover is really rough. This cover is like not that bad. These are expensive covers. They're like, they still sell brand new ones, but they're OEM and they're like 300 bucks. And you can see this whole surface for the water pump is good. This is all trashed. It also didn't help that I didn't know what I was doing. I soaked this in super clean, and apparently you're not supposed to use super clean with aluminum engine parts, and I did. And that might have contributed some damage to this cover. Maybe not, I don't know, but it's rough and it's getting replaced. So now all I got to do with this cover is put a new front seal on it. This right here is the oil pump. So I'm going to be putting a new oil pump in it. The oil pump kit comes with a new cover and bolts, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I also got a new crank sensor, which is mounted right here, new camshaft sensor. It's just precautionary stuff, you know. Last job I did reuse the sensors. I haven't had a problem, but it's just something to look out for. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. Now these Torx bits, this is a T30 Torx for these bolts. It actually helped to shorten this. I don't know why these things get so tight. I guess from heat. The torque on these ain't even that. Ain't that much. And of course it smells awful. That's junk pile there. Of course, when you're soaking this, cleaner gets in there. I'm going to go ahead and rinse this out with brake cleaner. This likes to get stuck. There we go. It's a tricky. Some rust in here and crap. I don't know. That's So I'm gonna rinse this out and I'll be right back. Okay, so they give you this little installer tool here. I got this all cleaned out. Okay, now I got the front oil seal in. It's not the best table to be doing it on, but it's better than the floor. So now, next thing we're doing is the oil pump. The bolt torque on these is 98 inch-pounds. And you just take some assembly lube and just lubricate all this before you put it in. Also, I forgot to mention we're going to be doing this adapter as well. Adapter goes right here, It's got a gasket, and there's actually a in this oil pump kit there is a spring in the valve for the adapter that you got to replace as well. Here's the gears right here, and then the cover itself. And I believe this might be like an upgrade kind of reinforced cover. Seems to be, maybe it's just painted, I don't know. Seems like a different material. And this edge part goes down in there. And you gotta be careful of this. This is already, it's already kind of messed up. There's never enough assembly lube. Feels good. And of course you also got to be careful with these covers and gears and stuff. They're sharp. There's not really any marks on this. It just, you know, just fit it in there and it works. These gears are just sticky from the beginning. Damn it. Fuck. Ugh. There we go. This is no problem from there. Okay, so I got the bolts cleaned up. I'm putting the oil filter adapter on. I also, for these bolts, they have like this white, I think they just used thread sealant on everything. I don't know if these bolts actually go into any like water jackets or oil or anything. So I'm just doing it the way the factory had it. So this is the Permatex thread sealant they use. And yeah, so we can get into this, putting the spring in. I'm just gonna put some just so there's no I don't know if it's standard to put this stuff on the valve, but I think it helps. All those holes for the gasket are lined up. Okay, we got them all snug, and then we're going to get the torque on them. These bolts here are technically torque to yield bolts. They require an additional 50 degrees. Yet again, the only bolts around are OEM bolts, and it's a pain in the ass to get them, so I reuse them. haven't had a major problem yet. But there's a lot of stuff on this motor that's just torque to yield bolts. And yet again, if you don't know what that means, it's usually if you got a bolt that has a torque and then it has an additional angle torque, that means that the bolt stretches, and that's a torque to yield bolt. If it doesn't have that extra angle, then you don't have to worry about it. But these, they do, and I think it'll be okay. And my only real concern is that I kind of regret not just grabbing the adapter too while I was at the junkyard. It was already off. It was on the ground. I should have just grabbed it, because this one's got some pitting corrosion on it. If it leaks, oh well, then I'll just get another one or something, but I think it'll be okay. The other car I had, it was also equally pitted. Hasn't leaked so far. These bolts are technically 1/2 inch actually, not metric. It's a good thing I caught that. Okay, so with these bolts, it's an initial 11 foot-pounds and then an additional 50 degrees angle. This also does angle torque too, so I just gotta get these down to 11. Just to make sure those are where they gotta be. That's weird. That one needed a little extra. Then we go over here to angle. Got 5 degrees on there. That's all done. It's all torqued down, ready to go. A little thread seal I got in the, I'm sloppy. Big deal. Now the final thing that's left after the oil seal adapter, oil pump's done, is cam sensor. Yet again, it probably doesn't matter when you put it on. Just at least if you put it on, you don't forget it. But I'm just going to throw it all together here. And the bolt has got a gasket here. There we go. Just got to give it a little finesse and then it goes in there. And the bolt on it is 89 inch-pounds. So that's in there. Of course, when you're putting the timing kit on, don't forget the magnet on the cam sprocket, because if you forget that, then you have no signal basically. Alright, so it's pretty much time to put this timing cover on. I went ahead and Yet again, you're putting thread, you got to put thread sealer on these bolts. I'm not putting in all the bolts in one shot because this crank sensor right here is held on with the timing cover bolts. So we're just going to get everything started. Otherwise, all the other bolts. Now this is a thing I didn't probably get to show y'all earlier. When the timing cover gets really bad, the bolt right here is pretty much going to break, and this is what you're going to have. And there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of corrosion in that, so make sure you clean up all the holes on the timing cover, make sure that the bolts go in. But in this case, I got a brand new bolt for that OEM. Give you all the part number here. Part number 24504713. That's the original one. So make sure, I forgot this. So make sure to get all the chain guard on there, or basically assembly lube. I'm using a chain guard type of stuff. I think it's like what Molly's right here. This stuff. And then down here, I'm gonna get, just so this thing goes on easier. Here's the crank sensor. There's a pin that it goes on, and so far everything, all the gaskets are aligned. Gasket holes. There. Put that one in. Okay, so the initial torque on these bolts is 15 foot-pounds, and then it's an additional 40 degrees. And just like these bolts, all these cover bolts are basically torque to yield bolts. Also, your water pump bolts are part of it. The diagrams and stuff is kind of confusing. All data lists like 2 different torques for these upper bolts, so I don't even mess with those. I just do all of the main important ones, and then when I put the water pump on, I torque the water pump bolts to what it says they're supposed to be. So we're gonna get going on this. The hell? Right, now we're going to switch this over to degrees. We're going to go down to 40 degrees. It is definitely a shit ton easier to do this with the motor out than in. Oh, that's secured. Hopefully that never leaks again for a long time. And then basically an explanation of this setup. So you don't forget, this plastic piece goes on. That's why all these bolts are the way they are. So they have the little clip thing there. And then you bring the wiring harness down here, and this harness accounts for the cam sensor, crank sensor, and the ignition control module here itself. And that's pretty much it for the timing cover. Here we are with our homemade oil sim test we just set up. We're gonna go ahead and try running it for the first time, see what the hell happens with we're just cranking it over by hand. And basically the idea is to pre-lube this whole motor before I just go put it in, and also make sure that the oil's flowing properly, everything's working. I put the starter on here, but I don't know if we're going to crank it over with the starter later, but just know.
Right, so you ready?
Yep.
Power's on. Hold on, let me get this way better. It's drawing oil. It's probably going to fill and start leaking into the pan. I'm looking for pressure. Pressure looks like it's coming up. Where's it leaking at?
That's coming up in here. I hear air. It's leaking out the bottom.
PSI, and it's bleeding off. 25, so I can keep 25 on. Ooh man, that thing glued in there.
Okay. It's all coming out the bottom. There's some at the top, but
Nothing's coming.
oh wait, oh, I'm seeing them. Okay, we got one right here.
Good, good, good. So where else are we seeing it?
Just right here. I'm not seeing the rest of them yet.
Oh, look. It maintains its own.
There we go.
All right. Isn't that, you hear that?
Yep.
It's got a regulator built in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting 50 psi there. Point out the push rod tubes that are getting oil.
This one, this one. This one's starting to get oil. This one's starting to get oil.
Do you see any?
These two are dry.
Okay. I guess.
This one's starting to get oil. This one's starting to get oil. That one's dry. This one's dry, dry. There's oil there.
All right. Let's start rotating it through then.
Okay. So rotate it while it's running?
Yes. I see the valves. See some of the valves moving?
Mm-hmm.
They're moving now. See that?
Yeah, it's nice and easy.
Look at that. And we have oil at every one.
Yeah. Now we're going to go through the firing order and see how they individually pump oil.
Yeah, so what I want you also to watch out for is this is number one.
Yeah.
How many times
We're
it
at top dead
takes
center.
to go through the firing order? We'll count how many times.
Yeah.
I'm looking for 1 and 2, but I don't know. I mean, I should know. I think I calculated it before.
1,
I think it's going through
6,
720 degrees.
5, 4, 3, 2. There we go. All right.
Ready?
Yeah. It's
Ready to go. Look at that one pumping up there.
holy. There's oil getting everywhere.
So,
I'm at top dead center.
okay. That one was shooting out of there.
Rotate it again.
Yeah,
keep going. We're on.
6, I see. All right, so now
We're on. We were just 2 just moved.
keep turning. I see an intake opening.
Yeah.
I see intake opening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that an exhaust? I see it. All right, keep going. So where are we at? 4?
4 right here.
And I want to see that exhaust do something better. Yeah, just keep rotating it through. Just keep stroking it through. Because I'm not seeing, on this exhaust, I'm not seeing,
That exhaust is really short.
but I'm also not seeing the fluid coming out. The oil on that one is just not, oh there it is, it's starting to pump up now. Those things are really flowing. I guess we're out of oil. All the oil's in there.
Yeah.
So we've run the whole gallon through there. I guess we've done the best we can. What do you
So
think?
yeah, next step's putting in the pickup tube and the oil pan. And then running the starter for a second test, and then I guess after that.
Button it up.
Yeah. Be good to go. Alright, so here's some real life. This here is the balance shaft retainer, and this goes behind the balance shaft gear. And apparently this has to be inside of this cover, and I put this cover on. So always double check and make sure you didn't leave anything out. like I did. In this case, I caught it soon, and this is not torqued down. I just put it in for the sim test. So I'm going to be taking this cover off. I'm not going to take a gamble with trying to reuse this gasket. I just got another one. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I got the front cover back off again. This is the retainer, balance shaft retainer, and it goes in like that, basically. And then these bolts are 22 foot-pounds. I put Loctite on them just to ensure that they're not going to come out and destroy the timing chain. And they are half inch bolts. Apparently the bolts on this car are a mismatch of friggin' metric and standard. Most of the bolts on the block itself are standard. And so far that is not touching. To make sure it's not touching there. So the thing, you want to make sure it's not bent, because if it's bent, then it's going to make contact with the gears, and then, you know, the timing chain mess things up some more. So, and then an even bigger headache. Don't want that. There we go. So now we got our balance shaft retainer in there. I ain't gonna forget it again. And ironically, this pin was supposed to be in the case, but it came, or the cover, it came out of the cover, and now it's in the block. So now all I got to do is just put the gasket, I can hang the gasket on fully and not have any problems. So it kind of helped me out a bit. And then I also kind of wasn't happy about how I did this sealer. I'm going to clean all these bolts up, all these holes, redo it. Okay, so I got the retainer for the balance shaft back in, got the cover back on. Now next thing I'm doing is this oil pan. And the first thing that has to happen is this pickup tube has to go in with this gasket. I figured I would go ahead and explain this. So on these later model Pontiac Grand Prix, they have a built-in windage tray, and this plastic gasket comes with a additional windage tray built in, because it's kind of a universal format for the older cars that had a stamped steel pan that didn't have the windage tray. So far I've installed this on one other car, haven't had a problem. Usually the OEM stock thing is to use RTV, and I'm not a big fan of RTV. This pan, this gasket does require a little bit of RTV just in the corners where the covers meet the rear main seal cover and the front timing cover on the block, and that's good enough for me. I'm just not crazy about the RTV, so I think this is going to work out good. But this gasket has to be installed first with the pickup tube, because just the way it is, the pickup tube kind of pins it in place. And it's also convenient if you're dealing with like gravity and you're not in a situation where I am, where I'm got this thing on a stand. Yeah, this pickup tube essentially kind of holds this gasket in place. So next we're going to be putting the gasket, putting the tube on. These bolts are 11 foot-pounds. It's kind of tricky, these. I think I can get away with not having to use the extension this time. So the situation I was dealing with, these are freaking 12-point sockets. This is a 6-point. I was having a little bit of thing with it slipping. So just to reassure that I got this. There. That should be torqued enough. Okay, so I kind of fucked up on this. The last gasket I was using had a little bit more access. It's kind of more tighter than I expected. But I'm just going to sneak the RTV on now, put it on, and then I'm going to be putting the pan on. And you don't need a whole lot of RTV, you just need enough to seal up these edges here. All right, now we're ready for the pan. So this built-in windage tray, these bolts, there's not a listed torque for them. So I just did what the oil pan bolts were, because they're about the same size, which is 10 foot-pounds. Put 10 foot-pounds on them with Loctite so they don't happen to come out in the pan or anything crazy like that. But so far I think we're good on everything here. Just gotta put the pan on. And then these bolts also had Loctite on them. So that's what I did there with that. And with this RTV, they say to put everything on finger tight, wait an hour, and then torque it down, and then wait another 24 hours for it to cure. There's like 20 total pan bolts, so I'm just putting these on as I go because there's just too many to sit and just mark every single one of them with Loctite. They all had Loctite on them when they came out, so that's what I'm putting back on them. And I'm assuming this pan had never been off before because it had the original gray silicone from the factory. It's usually the type that they use in the I don't know what's going on with this Loctite, if there's something wrong with it, because it's like super liquidy. And I don't know if the heat messed it up or what. Good. So one last bolt. So there we go. I got everything on hand tight. See you back in an hour, torquing this down. Alright, so I had a situation the other day where I was torquing down the oil pan bolts to 10 foot-pounds, and the very last bolt decided to nuke the threads on the last hole here, which fortunately it's not the cast iron block, it's the aluminum rear main seal housing or plate, whatever you want to call it. The threads just decided to disappear in there. So I'm gonna have to take this plate out, and I'm hoping I can just put a heel coil in it and there's no other damage to the plate. But if it's like cracked, I'm probably gonna have to look at getting another plate, but that requires replacing a gasket again that I've already replaced, so another waste of a gasket, but shit happens. I'm not sure exactly what caused that, other than it's old or that I used Loctite on these bolts. I don't know. But before I just tear all that down, I decided I'm going to go ahead and put the rear knock sensor in and the oil level sensor before I forget about those things. So this is the oil level sensor. It's already got an O-ring gasket on it to seal against the pan, and you just install it and torque it to 15 foot-pounds. And a 30 mil socket fits on it good enough. And of course I got this mess of adapters because I don't have a 3/8 torque wrench. I got a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch, and the 1/4 seems to be working better for this job. So that should be tight enough on there. And then for the rear knock sensor, it's a 22 mil socket. And there seems to be some kind of like sealer on this. Is that like red Loctite? I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some Loctite on it. Okay, and then the torque on this is 14 foot-pounds. There. So now those are taken out, so I'm not going to forget about those. And I'm going to get on to repairing this rear main seal cover. Okay, so I got the rear main seal housing fixed. I had to install a heel coil, quarter 20 heel coil. It's pretty straightforward. You get the specified drill bit, in this case 17/64. You drill out the old threads. The kit comes with a tap. You tap on the new threads and then you put the heel coil in and it's good to go. And I made sure to test everything with these bolts to make sure that it goes down to 10 foot-pounds, and it does. So that's fixed. I was able to save these threads over here. One thread did come out, but I think the main thing that I messed up on with these aluminum, especially with these aluminum bolt holes, is you got to clean them out. And I didn't think to do that. I just went ahead and installed everything, and that's most likely what caused this hole to strip out, and then this one was almost about to go. So I got that straightened out. Next time, just doesn't even matter what the material is. Clean out the bolt holes, saves a lot of headache. I'm going to go ahead and move on to reinstalling this cover. See y'all in a bit. Alright, so I decided to take a moment and show you all this whole clusterfuck, because I don't know of any other video that actually shows this whole thing at this angle, because there's usually a transmission right here blocking all this and you can't see shit. So the first thing I'm going to emphasize here is this knock sensor. You cannot get this knock sensor out without the engine transmission being separated. So one precaution is to definitely, when you got this engine out and you're in this position, change that knock sensor. Now yet again, I'm still taking a gamble because I don't know if this is it's an OEM knock sensor. I don't know if it's bad out of the box or what, but it's best to change that. I did see somebody shave down a socket and be able to get in there and get that out, but it's a big pain in the ass. It's easier just to do it while you got this whole thing out. The next thing we're moving on to is this transmission brace. Now, in a previous video, the previous video, I basically went over that if you have a 2007 or later Pontiac Grand Prix Buick LaCrosse, this is a completely different transmission brace, as well as the engine mount bracket, completely different. They updated it. So 2006 and older, this is what you're dealing with right here. So this brace, I absolutely hate this thing. I like the new one. This thing is a piece of shit. It has this brace has 5 bolts. It has 2 bolts go in the transmission, which are 32 foot-pounds. And then it has 2 bolts that go into the block, which are 46 foot-pounds. And it also has a bolt that goes into the pan, which is also 46 foot-pounds. Yet again, I gotta emphasize, this bracket has to go on the block before the motor goes back in, because the only other way you can get this piece of shit out is by getting this oil filter adapter off, and that's a pain in the ass as well in itself. So definitely get this thing back on if you have one of these. I guess you could do the same thing with the newer one. That would be good as well. It just makes things easier. But I don't know what was going on with this brace. When I initially put it on, the holes were not lining up. I have the same car with the same exact brace. I use the same exact aftermarket pan gasket, and I didn't have any problems. But with this one, I did. Things weren't lining up. I filed this hole down, and that seemed to do it. But the main thing that seemed to do it was there was a bolt that wasn't the stock bolt in this hole. When I took this thing apart, it was just, that was the way it was. Someone else mixed up the bolts. These bolts right here, these specifically, are the stock style bolts that go in this bracket. There's also a brace. There's also a front transmission brace up here that has 3 bolts, 3 of the same bolts. I ended up having to borrow a bolt from that. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. I'm going to fix that, but it seemed to go right in as soon as I used the stock bolt on this brace. And I don't know if it's because I filed the hole down and I got it to fit because for whatever reason this thing was bent, or if it was just the fact that I was using the wrong bolt and it wasn't going all the way down in and causing a problem. The other thing is this brace, you would think that, oh, it's just got 3 bolts on the engine that are all the same, right? No. You got 2 of these bolts that are the same, and you got this bolt which is completely different. It's a bigger bolt. I forgot what the specific spec for this bolt is, because the other car I have, transmission work was done on it. Somebody lost the bolt, somebody left it out, whatever, and I had to go through a bunch of hell finding this bolt. But this one, surprisingly, still had the bolt. So if I find the spec, I'll put it down in the video. So I figured I'd just go over this. Now we're on to the engine mount. This bracket here, both of the, the new bracket and the old bracket are both still kind of pain in the ass things. Because with the new bracket, it's basically a piece of metal that goes from one side of the block around the pan to the other side of the block behind the AC compressor, and that's what makes that, and the fact that it goes around the pan instead of on the pan actually makes it more inconvenient when you want to do an oil pan gasket, when you want to take the pan out. Plus the fact that now you got bolts around the AC compressor that might be behind the AC compressor to get it off. So that newer one, it's better because it doesn't bolt to the pan, but it's still just a pain in the ass because it goes around the oil pan, blocks it. So this older style is actually easier to deal with, but this thing's a piece of shit itself, because these bolts here, they don't clear the engine mount. You cannot get a straight socket or extension on these bolts. You have to come in at an angle, and usually when you're taking this thing apart under the car, you have to use fucking universal joints, because yeah, geniuses. So you have to, or you have to shove a short socket in there just to get a torque on these things. So the torque specs on these, so this, all data says this engine mount nuts on either side is 32 foot-pounds. They didn't have really any diagrams for this specific bracket. They had diagram for the newer bracket. So what I just concluded was that these nuts are the same thread, size, whatever, as these bracket bolts. So they're 32 foot-pounds. I torqued all of this to 32 foot-pounds, and I haven't had a problem yet. So that's just how I deal with that. And then you got the adapter over here with the oil pressure switch, and that's 12 foot-pounds. And yet again, you don't want to have to be taking this out under the car, because you basically have like zero room to retorque these bolts. So they're like 11 foot-pounds with an additional 50 degrees torque. So that's pretty much it for this whole mess here. I figured I'd just go over that because I don't know of any other video that shows this whole thing this clear, because once it's in the car, you can't see, you could barely see anything back here. Okay, so we're doing the second and final homemade sim test, this time using the starter instead of a ratchet. See how it goes.
Don't see anything yet. Thought I heard some gurgling. Did you?
Yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of it.
Ah, starting to see some oil sweeping.
There we go. Yeah.
And
I'm starting to see some come up there.
That's good.
It's just taking a minute to get to the top end. And of course, this time we got the oil actually in the oil pan and it's pulling its own oil to the top instead of being assisted with a external pump. This one's finally filling up.
It's pumping.
Think that's good enough?
Yeah. Feel the heat on the starter?
Oh,
right here.
see.
Right here.
Oh,
The commutator's down there.
it's warm a
Right
bit.
here.
Oh. Yeah. It's getting hot.
Okay.
So now it's on to assembling the rest of it. This, apparently from what I read, you got to use regular non-synthetic oil for a break-in. So that's what I'm using, just regular 5W30 and a cheap filter. And I'm going with that. And supposedly I read that it takes a couple of months to break in, and you just keep it under 3,000 RPM. That's what I read. Just haven't found any like official instruction on what the break-in is for this, but that's what I'm doing. So now it's just assembling the rest of it and getting it in the car. All right, so I'm putting this lower intake manifold on. I figured I would show you all this real quick, this important thing. So they call this the engine coolant manifold gasket, and it goes right here under the EGR pipe, this bypass here. This gasket, for some reason, with Felpro, it comes with the plenum, the upper intake gasket, but it doesn't come with the lower intake gasket. So you just gotta make sure to order both of those. Part numbers here for the plenum, And then the intake is right there. Yeah, so I don't know why they got that backward, but this is a part of the lower intake, not the plenum. They put it with the plenum. So I don't know exactly what this block off is for. I'm assuming that maybe it's a block off for the L32 engine, the supercharged engine that came in these cars as well. And this might have been some kind of cooling port for the supercharger. I don't know. That's just my theory. But they have this on here, and this is very important to get done before you put this intake manifold on, because you can't get this, you really can't get this off once it's on there. And this gasket could be old and leaking. So yeah, the bolts on these, yet again, there's no manual in the world that's going to tell you what the torque of these bolts are. So the basis I concluded is I found out what type of bolts they are. They're M6 by 1 by 25. And I did a bunch of research, and the best I can conclude is 7 foot-pounds or 10 Newton meters. So I'm going to put these on at 7 foot-pounds. And I don't put any thread lock or anything on them. There's small bolts. They stayed on the last time. I just forgot what torque I put on them last time, because yet again there's nothing out there. Oh, and the socket size is an 8 mil. That's an 8 mil socket. So there, that gasket's installed. And then the next important thing while you got this off is the coolant sensor. It goes right there. It's 18 foot-pounds. Not sure what socket it is. I'm going to put it on, but these things, and especially if you had the whole car, you've had the car for a while and you've never changed the sensor, they usually just, this plastic part here, connector, just ends up breaking into a million pieces. So it's important to get that changed out as well, because they're a pain in the ass to get to once the intake's on there. So that's pretty much it. We're going to get on to putting the intake on. So next thing we got to do is put the end gaskets in, or end seals in, and they're pretty straightforward. You just got these, I've heard they're called China walls, whatever you want to call them, but basically these end gaskets go into studs, go into the holes here, like that, I believe. That's how that goes. And usually, since you got these gaskets on here, these are pretty clean anyways. The only cleaning you really got to do is all this, which that's been done here. And once you get these into place, you just fill in the sides with a dab of RTV, which comes with the gasket set anyways. So it's pretty straightforward there. And this is the stuff they include in the kit. Gray RTV. I don't think you need a whole lot. Just gotta fill it in. The side's kind of gonna be a bit rough. There we go. We'll put some more in just to make sure. I fucked this up. So yeah, now it's double friggin' sealed. Oh, fuck. Hell. Now, next thing is the intake bolts. These are 12 bolts here. They are 3/8. And you put a thread locker on them, or a thread sealer. That should be enough there. get that started, because these bolts do go into cooling passages and they're going to leak if they don't have sealer on them. Just making sure all these gasket holes are lined up good enough. There's two bolts that they actually put inside of the manifold. So that one's threading in perfect. This one's threading in perfect. Just these two are questionable, so I'm gonna take those out, figure out why they're not. Maybe this is junk in the threads. Yeah, that's what it looks like. There. So now all it is torquing them to 11 foot-pounds. So first off, this is a shitty friggin' diagram, barely see. So this is 1, 3, 10, 11. Where the fuck is 2? This is 12, 4, and 2. So you're going across here. Three and 4. Oh, and then 5 is right here. Okay. Tighten this in. And 6 is down here, right here. And then 7 is over here. Make sure that's tight. Eight is down there. The hell is 9? 9 is right there. 10 is right here. That's right, back over here to 11. And 12's right here. Now we're coming back over to 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. I'm gonna go check through these again. And what I like to do is just go the row. Okay, so that's good. Got the intake on, and hopefully that wonderful RTV job I did, it's gonna seal. I did it before, it sealed. It's pretty easy situation. I don't think you can fuck it up that bad. So now it's on to the plenum, because there's not really a whole lot of clear instructions for the RTV. It just says that you assemble it in 5 minutes, it skims over in 15 minutes, does something in an hour, and then it's fully cured in 24 hours, so I don't have to worry about that. It's all sealed, and I don't think I've forgotten anything, and I don't think I've left anything in there. So I got the gaskets on there. It's good. I don't think I got these intake gaskets backwards. As far as I know, they look good. Oh, but actually, before I go jumping to the plenum, there's a couple of things you have to put on here. You have an alternator bracket that goes here. That has to go on. And then these two bolts here is for the bracket for the other side torque link or torque strut, whatever you want to call it. Those things have to go on before the plenum goes on, because if you put the plenum on, you can't, these bolts are at such an angle you can't get anything on them. So that's the next thing that has to happen. And I don't know what the point of this alternator bracket is. There's just, I mean, the alternator sits here and there's a bar that bolts right over to this bracket, and that's where it is. And then of course you got a thermostat. Got to put on all that. Okay, so I got the lower intake in, and now at this point I'm looking at putting the plenum in. And all it is just this gasket here, plastic gasket with silicone infused in it. And then you got all your bolts. The majority of these bolts are 8 mil. A couple of them are studs, and they are 10 mil. And I'll show you exactly where the studs are supposed to go. Yeah, because there's a specific spot for them. Okay, so I completely missed this. There's a tube that doesn't come with the gasket that you don't want to lose, and it goes on the gasket, and it goes into this hole for the map sensor. So you gotta make sure that's on there before you just go putting this together. Apparently the instructions did not show that, which is crazy why it wouldn't be in there. So it looks like we got all this in place. Looks good. Yeah, so that's like a little vent tube for the PCV. PCV valves under the map sensor on this. And then this tube is part of this intake manifold. I found out about that. I had to sand it down a little bit because I thought it came out for cleaning, and it didn't. So there's a little bit of scrapes on it. It goes around that. It looks like everything is settled with that. Okay, now for the bolts. You torque these bolts to 89 pounds. There's a diagram right here. It shows you torque sequence. I'm going to get them all started. So this stud is in the way back right here. So the short stud's in the way back. I was going to get all these. Shit. And then for this goes right here, the regular one. And then the stud goes right here. And I'm trying to remember what this stud here is actually for, why they have that there. But I'll figure it out later. This is 7. This is 3. That's 1. And then directly across from it is 2. Three is right over here. 4 right across from it. 5 is right here. 6 is right across from it. 'Swap these out for number 7, which is right here. And then 8 is right there. Actually, I think I'm going to put this extension on here. So we got that. Eight, and then 9 is back here. And then you got 10. So there's 10 bolts. And we're back to 1. Two, 3, 4, 5, 'Oh, I forgot these things. Damn it. I'll put a less worn out socket on it. On these. That bolt is messed up. 6. We're back over here to 7. Good. There. That's how you get the plenum done. And then later I'm going to be showing all the extra shit you got to put on it. Throttle body, PCV valve, show you how all that is together. And then you got your brake booster hose right here, plugs in the back. And then of course your fuel rail, putting that on. And if I didn't mention already, I got the strut bracket here in, and I got the alternator bracket in. Yeah, and these bolts are 37 foot-pounds. I think they're 13 mils. Yeah, they're 13 mils. But you got to pay attention to how the bolts go in, because over here, this is a shorter bolt, this is a longer bolt. Over here you got a shorter bolt, longer bolt. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. And then up front here, I haven't figured out what the torque is for this thingamajig. Apparently on 2007 models, they even changed this whole strut mount. They brought a reinforcement down to like here. They bolted it off the side of the head here instead of up here. And it makes sense because the, I'm assuming, original strut mount that I had on this motor actually broke right here. I don't know what happened, if I over torqued it or what, but when I was taking it off, when I was tearing this motor down, it cracked right there and came apart. So I had to go to a junkyard and get another one of these. I've had problems with this before. That's why I suggest these bolts here, you put Loctite on them and you torque them to spec. Over here, when I did the heads on this motor like 4 years ago, I put this on without Loctite, and I don't think I knew the torque spec, and I just torqued it down tight, and later on I found this loose and I had to retighten it. So it's you know, some things do need Loctite, not everything needs Loctite. I'm learning. I haven't been really a Loctite guy because I know the possibility of bolts getting stuck and breaking, and I'm just like, if I can keep the threads clean and just put it in, I'll do that. Another option thing you can do on this is on these bolts you can put anti-seize. I put anti-seize on them before. It just made a huge mess for me. That's why I just left them off this time. I just left the threads clean, because really it didn't change anything. 4 years, the bolts didn't seize up. I don't know if it's like a Northern thing, but I've taken bolts off of this on like a Northern car, and these things just, they break. And maybe it's also because that motor might have been overheated at one point. I don't know, but these bolts are, they're small, and they do have the possibility of breaking. But I guess if you keep the threads clean and you change your gasket every so often, I think you'll be okay. Okay, so we're pretty much going to be doing all little extra things to button up this motor, and then this thing's going to be pretty much done. So the first thing is your brake booster vacuum line. That's pretty simple. This O-ring, you could replace it. In my case, I've checked it, feels good. Doesn't seem like it's not going to be an immediate problem yet, but if it is, it's my fault. So it's pretty straightforward how this goes in. And of course, yeah, make sure you clean out the plenum hole, and then it'll be good. It's always kind of just sat loose like this. Haven't had a major problem with it yet. So now next thing is the PCV. This definitely, if you haven't changed it before, change it. In this case, I've recently changed this stuff. You know, brand new OEM PCV valve, and so I'm not going to worry too much. All the O-rings are pretty good. So this just, you got an O-ring here. It drops in like this, and then you have this whole spring situation that presses down like that, and then you have these notches right here, and then it hooks in. So in this case it goes like that, and then you twist it, and you just got to be careful with it because you got your map sensor on here. There we go. Damn. Think that will be okay. It's kind of loose. Guess it's been like that. I figure I'll check this and clean this while I'm at it. Looks okay. This is an aftermarket map sensor that came with the car that I just decided to use. And seems like everything there is okay. So yeah, that's how that sits. This was actually the first problem I fixed on this car before I even did all the heads and all that stuff. There was no O-rings in here. Someone had taken this off, didn't know what they're doing, put it all back together with no O-rings, and it was throwing a code for the PCV valve, and that was the first thing. It's pretty straightforward. And then the next two things are the fuel rail and the throttle body. So I got the fuel injector nuts here. These are 10 mil. There's 4 of them. And then I'm just going to lightly coat each seal with a little dielectric grease. And then the rail goes on like this. This side seems to go in. Yep, just like that. Pops right in. I don't know what the torque is on these. I have to figure that out. 89 inch-pounds. Alright, so now what we're doing next is the water pump, but before I do the water pump, I gotta plug in the cam and the crank sensor. The wiring is pretty much right here. This is the cam sensor. And I clean these off with electronic cleaner. And the wire hooks right in here. That stays like that. And then down here. So there, we got the cam sensor and the crank sensor in there. Now I can put the water pump in. So the timing gasket kit came with a water pump gasket. This supposedly is like it's a silicone aluminum gasket compared to the regular paper. And I pretty much got the water pump cleaned up here. As well, it's also a brand new water pump I put on here before I did all this tear down months ago. And then we got the bolts. So you have short bolts and long bolts. You got 4 short bolts, 4 long bolts. Now the short bolts, they don't go into any cooling jacket. They just hold this pump onto the cover. These long bolts go directly into cooling jackets. So you got to put a thread sealer on there. I also found out these are from Dorman. Dorman actually sells a water pump bolt kit, because a lot of the time these bolts, especially these long bolts, they get corroded and they're pretty much junk. But these are new, as I had changed the water pump. So we're going to be putting the short bolts on first. Now the short bolts are 16 foot-pounds, and the make sure this gasket's aligned with there. There's alignment pins on the case. Gotta make sure those are aligned. And then there's one short bolt down here. I think these are 10. They might be 8s. Trying to remember. So far this gasket is all lined up where it needs to be. And I guess technically you could have put the cam sensor on after, but it's like, it's kind of in the way. And yet again, just the same stuff, the Permatex high temperature thread sealant is what I'm using on these water pump bolts. It's weird, they're like 10s, but they don't feel like 10s. Might be standard, which they are standard. These are, that's fucking weird. So these are 13 mil, and these are 3/8. Well, I guess half-inch works. So let's say they're standard, so. I'll come back to those later. They just don't feel right. The long ones are 25 foot-pounds. Oh, they're tight enough. I don't know what the fuck's going on with them, if they're just junk bolts or the threads are fucking junk in this as well. Forgot to clean all that out. Shit. It's tight on there. I don't think it's gonna come out. So now I'm on to the serpentine belt tensioner, putting that on. There's three 15 mil bolts. These are 37 foot-pounds. And then of course you have your cooling elbows. AC Delco recently started selling their own branded aluminum elbows. It used to be Dorman, but now they're AC Delco. So basically how this goes is there's one that goes here. This one specifically goes here because it goes into here. Can't mess that up. It's different size. And then you have this one that goes here. And we're basically going to do the same thing with a little dielectric grease around the seal. Helps get that in there. Or we can adjust it. And I think that should be good. Probably not, because this thing's always a bitch. I just can't align and go in and I think we got it this time. To make sure this is gonna seal in there. Yep, that looks good. This looks good. I think that's all. And then the next thing is this alternator. dome. I think it's the same size. Yep, it is. Okay, so now I'm going to be replacing the crank bolt. Part number is 24504736. OEM crank bolt. You have to replace these because they're torque to yield bolts, they stretch. So the first thing I've done is I got the flywheel lock on there, if y'all can see that. I showed that earlier. Got my impact on here, take the old one off. And it is in reverse. Old crank bolts off. And I don't know, some people like to put Loctite on these. This is going to 111 foot-pounds plus like 76 additional degrees. I went and had to buy a whole new torque wrench for this because I didn't even have something that could do this properly. But I just leave it dry. I think that's enough for these harmonic balancer bolts or crank pulley bolts, whatever you want to call them. And I've double checked everything because this is like the final thing here. You know, once you do this to this bolt, I mean, you don't want to reuse it if you got to take it back off. So that's tight. This is a new torque wrench I got from Harbor Freight. Hopefully it's able to just do what I need it to do. Not having a problem. Oh, that did that, no problem. Now we can switch over to degrees. Oh, it's got to calibrate. So there's 76 degrees. See how the hell this goes. I'm gonna start from here. Oh, nope, that is not gonna work like that. Holy shit, this thing is great. So I put a little extra on it, but it for 200 bucks, there you go. It's not even a sponsor, I'm not paid to show this. This is what I got. You know, because I can show you all this. So this is my original half inch torque wrench, 15 inches. This is like 26 inches. This doesn't even do angle torque because I guess because of how short it is. This one goes up to 250 foot-pounds. This goes up to like 145. And before that I was using, for the angles, for the torque to yield bolts, I was using a mechanical meter. And I had a breaker bar. I have a breaker bar that's just about the same length as this. And you couldn't even do it with that. So this thing is great. Okay, so this is our situation. Apparently we did some dumbass math here, and we figured that the driveway concrete and the garage concrete are two different types. And we found that if we put this hoist on the garage concrete, we have an easier time moving it around, and it's in a better position. So that's what we did. So yeah, now we're just gonna drop this thing in, see how this goes.
Ready?
Yeah.
Alright, we're clear. Hold on.
Yep.
Well, filters.
No, stop.
Stop.
I think it's gonna come out a little bit because it.
Back towards me.
Yeah. Oh, maybe not. Hold on. I'm trying to. It seemed like it was going. The flywheel's going over the transmission.
So these can back some towards me.
Yeah. But then I'm also concerned about that oil filter fitting in.
Once you see the oil filter,
Yeah.
it's going to go away.
Mm-hmm. That was the other thing I did. I wrapped this filter in foam so it wouldn't get damaged.
Filter's looking good. Hold on. Let's go in a little bit.
Yeah, the flywheel's hitting the.
So we need to go back, right?
Yeah.
Monitor that filter.
Okay.
Alright, so it seems like it's back as it can go.
Yeah, I might have to jack up the transmission. Yeah, it's starting to rotate forward. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good when we drop it in.
How much clearance do we have? Alright. Let's do. Come down.
Okay. Okay, flywheel is touching a little bit.
You may not be able to get it past. So see where the pins along?
Yeah.
How's that? Is that in alignment? Is that gonna go?
That is really close. I think that's good.
Okay. Really close on the oil filter.
Yeah.
How's that transmission?
Good. We got like a little bit of room.
Down.
Okay.
Where are we in it?
Okay. So the issue that's going on, this is similar when I was taking it out, is that it's a very tight clearance here, and I don't know if it's because this car was in a wreck and the frame's bent inward, and that's why it's as tight as it is. But the problem with this stupid fucking adapter being here, you know, yeah, it'd be easier to take this off right here, right now, but putting this back on is gonna be a bitch. So the best thing I'm gonna try to do is just shoehorn it in. So lower it in. And of course I'm not that easy. You know, and there's clearance there to pop it in. It's just the transmission doesn't want to cooperate.
The only thing that you can do, did you take this flip?
What?
So you got it in. How the hell did you do that?
I'm shoehorning it in. It feels like it's falling in now.
Yeah, you got it past there.
Looks good. I think it can go down.
Then I can lower it.
There we go.
Well, you got it done.
Just gotta.
How's the mounts? Engine mounts.
I don't think it's low enough yet.
You see the pin?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm coming down.
There. Yep. Now it's aligned. I think it's
Is that
aligned.
good, or you need more?
Little tiny bit.
It's all the weight's off it now.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
What?
That's really. I should have put some grease on that. I didn't think of
That's what I
that.
asked you before.
Fuck. Well,
It's
the bolt's
okay.
gonna pull it
It'll
in.
go in.
The bolt will pull it in.
We'll get it aligned.
The hole's aligned. I think I could pull it in with the bolt now.
Okay.
The bolt is catching a thread, but it's not like threading in super nice.
Just
There. Oh, I thought I got another thread. Getting another one.
is it started at all?
It started a couple of threads, but it's not moving. There, it's moving a little bit now. I'm trying not to cross thread it. I think it's just tight. Let me try putting the... Feels like it's going in.
I think it is, Tim. I think it's in.
So now we just gotta push it back.
Do you see where that? I see some hole right there.
Yeah. That's not the hole.
I mean right here. Is something supposed to fit
No,
in
no,
there?
no. That's not the hole.
So do I have to go? Do I have to go? There it is. It's in. Both.
Okay, we got one in. I think the
Alright.
back one's not in yet.
Yeah. Are you hold this?
Okay. Oh, oh. There we go.
Wait a minute.
It's in. Oh shit, that pump. Yeah, I gotta get a strap.
Did we damage the pump? I can't see.
It looks okay.
But it's the mounts. Let me get this thing out of the way. Stand by. Pull the engine back.
Yeah, let me.
Hold on.
I gotta get a strap to pull it back. I can't. It's. Looks okay.
Is both pins in still?
Yeah, the other one popped in.
Coming down.
It's good. So anyways, this is pretty much it for this video. We got the motor in. Pretty much everything assembling this thing is just a reverse of what I did in the previous video, so you can go watch that video if you're looking to pull one of these out. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Alright, so we're doing our first start since putting this whole motor back together and putting it in. So we're going to see how that goes. See if we got any. What?
Do you need this fan on?
Yeah, it's hot. Whew.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. You got the battery hooked up? Okay. Yep. It pump just filled up. That's good. Yep, I'm ready. Yeah. It's just a switch. I can't tell.
Is the light on or off?
There's no light.
I can't hear you.
There's no light.
Sounds good, but it's running rough.
I'm not getting a check engine light yet.
Give it a little gas. You want to come out and listen?
Yeah.
Thank What do you think of that? I don't hear any lifting noises.
No. It might be a misfire.
There should be one.
I guess I'll shut it off and get the scanner.
Okay.
See if Dad will tell me what's going on.